Thank you so much today for joining us on the Moral Compass. The title of our show today is Close Encounters of a Common Kind. We have a star-studded panel today. We have April Driver, Nicole Ori, Laura Manigault Irvin, Michelle Harris, and Allison Taylor. I tell you what, an awesome show today. We're just blessed and thankful to have the people that are on this show today. They're all good friends of mine. We're close. You know, some of us have deep roots, like over 40, over 20, over 17 years. I don't want to tell y'all my age. I don't even know that. Yeah, we got deep roots, because people be trying to do the math, but we do. We have deep roots, and I'm thankful to have them on the show. We're gonna start off, and when I ask them a question, they're gonna give you a little bit of their background and let you know who they are, and definitely. So we're gonna go from here. We're gonna start with Nicole Ori. Nicole, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Nicole. I'm 44 years old, a native of Charleston, South Carolina, from a little small town by the name of Parkers Ferry, South Carolina. I'm a mother of three. I've met Cornell through work, and me and him have gotten a real close bond ever since then, and I'm glad to be on the show.
Awesome.
Here.
Love you back. Nicole, the first question for you is, when was the first time or the most recent time that you encountered racism?
I can't recall like the first time that I encountered racism per se, like face to face. I know that it exists. I just remember a time. Sometimes I get on the phone, I can change up my voice a little. And I did an interview over the phone. I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my Nicole is spelled differently. And I did a phone interview twice. And when I went in for the initial interview, which was face to face, the supervisor came in, she introduced herself, and she stepped out of the door. And I can only hear the words is that I thought she was Caucasian, is what I heard. And she came back in, and we went through a series of questions. But in the back of my mind, I felt like I wasn't going to get the job. And I didn't get the job because I think I was pretty much stereotyped that I was a Caucasian female. And that's back in 2000.
2000.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I didn't mention also to the panelists, to the guests, if you want to segue, in on the question, feel free to segue. Feel free to say something if you'd like to. Nicole Ori, you're up again. We have another question for you. The next question is, why has so much of our culture and history been hidden from us? Is fear a factor?
Fear is a factor because I believe if we were to know everything that was done to us, said about us, it would take away some of your morale as a human being. I feel like some folks, it would work on their self-esteem. So fear is a big factor in it because I wouldn't want to know everything about my background for those reasons.
All right. Thank you. And one last question for you, Ms. Ori. And let me make you laugh. You talking about how you, because it just tickled me. I gotta say it. You talk about your name is spelled differently. I was so glad that I could shut my spell check down today because my spell check kept trying to tell me I didn't spell things right, and I said I spelled Nicole right.
I know.
As African Americans, we all want a piece of the American dream, a comfortable life, the metaphorical house with the picket fence. My question is, why is that so threatening?
Because I feel like African Americans are always shortchanged. I have a friend. She lost her house in 2019. Pretty much lost her house, repossession. So we all know when your house is repossessed, it hits your credit. Your credit score normally go down, and you're pretty much shot for some years. And she called me the end of 2019. I think it was like back in October. And me and her was talking, and I told her, I said, "What's up for today?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm heading to the bank. I'm heading to closing." And I said, "Closing? What are you closing on?" She said, "I found me a new house in Somerville, and I'm closing on your house." I said, "You're going to closing, and you just lost the house?" She said, "Oh yeah." She said, "Somehow it got worked out." And so the back of my mind, I knew if that was, say, myself, it probably would have been another 7-8 years. I probably would have had to be on the deed and not on the mortgage of something because of a repossession of a home. So, I mean, it's situations like that makes us uneasy. I don't believe that we are treated fairly. I also believe that there's something that's involved with our Social Security number, why we are very limited in what we get.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Okay.
This just goes back to voting for people who make laws that help you, right? This goes back to voting for the people who are going to put those laws in place. Allison knows what I'm talking about. That protect the buyer, protect somebody who gets out of work, who can't afford it,
right?
Who's got more going out than what's coming in. And it just really makes me angry. And I hope you talk about this, Cornell, but it really makes me angry when we can't connect voting for that person all the way up, down ticket, voting for that person who's going to have her friend's interest at heart, my interest at heart, and making that connection, because that's where we lose. I think that's where we lose a lot of people is somebody might say, "I'm not going to vote. It doesn't make a difference to me." But it does. Because just imagine if we could put in laws that said, you know what, you lose your job, 6 months, no mortgage. Just imagine, not 3 months, right? And so we can change that. And so it just makes me think, Nicole, about, had we been this energized 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years, I know you're only 44, but it just, had we been this energized a long time ago, we could have laws on the books right now that protect people, black and white, protect people from getting put out their homes. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you very much, April. Thank you, Nicole. We appreciate that. It almost, April, what you were saying is that, and Nicole, our back is against the wall now, and that's when we come out, and it's like, I know I used to do most of my homework. We'll have like a month to do it if it's a project, and the last night, and then told my grandfather, let's go out and let's get a poster board, and we're gonna try to do everything that I was supposed to be doing in a month in the last night, and it seems like that's when we thrive the best at the last moment, but it's do or die. But we absolutely, I think after watching the debate last night, we absolutely know who we better not vote for, who we better make sure does not get in office.
Absolutely.
So I think we absolutely know that, and for anybody listening to the broadcast, people too, they need to go out and vote. There's no time to be willy-nilly up in the air. But I'm not gonna make this all about voting, but it's serious. But we're gonna go ahead and move on. April Driver, you are next up. April Driver, tell us a little bit about yourself.
50% of y'all know I grew up in Moncks Corner, by way of New York. Grew up, with a family that voted all the time, very political. Grew up in what I think is a pretty good balanced high school. Allison and Cornell can speak to that. But moved to Atlanta after my first marriage and was opened up to a world of powerful minorities. Whole sections, Chinatown, Koreatown, Italian town. Two places I've never been scared of a white man: New York City and Atlanta, Georgia. Because if you're from it, if you are from the city of Atlanta, you good with folks of all colors, because that's how prevalent we are in the city of Atlanta. And it's the same way of New York. You can't be racist in New York City. You can't. You could try, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to run into someone who's going to treat you with the respect and love that you give them. And I truly believe that here in Atlanta. Now, when you get out to the rural parts, it's a different story. That's a true statement. It's a different story. When you are in the city, you are accepted and loved by white, by Hispanic, by Asian, because there's just such an overwhelming flow of people who are all integrated. That's not to say that systematic racism, institutionalized racism doesn't exist, but your day-to-day, I really think you encounter people of all colors, all faiths, and they come back at you with equal respect and equal love. With that being said, went to school here, worked here, and I have run into Nicole, that person that said, "Oh, I thought she was white." And you tell them point blank, no, I'm Black. And they're suddenly disappointed. So I have run into that. I have run into white people wondering if I had insurance after we got into an accident. And I said to him, "Why would you not think I didn't have insurance? What makes you think I could not afford car insurance? I wouldn't have that." And he got beat red and he walked away. Couldn't even answer me. I've stood in grocery stores and had white men walk in front of me like I was not standing right there. And the minute I said, "Hey, I'm standing here, I'm in line." Oh, I'm sorry. So I've seen both sort of that, what do we call it, guys? That racism where they don't know they're being racist unless you call it out. And then they just outright racist, right? So that's a little bit about me. I'm very, very, very old. I'm very old. But still young at heart. And I have 3 young Black boys to raise. You guys have seen them on Facebook a little bit. And so I'm very, very worried about this election. I was very worried about the last election. And I see it eating at my sons. So my focus right now is to just, do the best we can with online schooling, do the best job I can, and protect those poor souls, protect those souls. Because we grew up, and I'll stop here, but we grew up in this place where you heard stories about the uncle that went out, didn't come back. You heard stories about people getting beat up at the polling stations. You heard people, my father was in the Black Panthers, the tiny one down around the corner. But, you've heard these stories and you worry. And so I think this is, I don't know about you guys, but I think this is much, much worse than the 60s. And I'd have to ask Ellis Guy, Cornell, I'd have to ask Ellis Guy what he thought. But, this is upfront racism to me. This is upfront discrimination to me. This is upfront abuse of the laws and the powers that we've entrusted, that we vote with in this day and age, that work against my own children. So that's why you hear me. My voice is all loud and I'm so passionate because I'm watching this with them and they don't like it. My 17-year-old does not like the idea that this guy is willing to put somebody on the Supreme Court just so he can challenge the ballots. You know,
Absolutely.
my 10-year-old doesn't like somebody getting shot in the back 7 times. And I know we'll delve into all of that, but that's what I'm about now is sort of trying to comfort them, trying to, there they are right now, trying to make sure they remember to walk in the sun and breathe and relax and make change. So, that's me. Oh, and I have a husband named Curtis.
All right. Awesome. Hey, we got a special surprise for you. My good friend, Pastor, recording artist, Pastor Desmond Pringle, is in the house with us today. Pastor Desmond Pringle, we're so glad to have you.
Listen, I am so glad to be here. This has been awesome trying to navigate this technology to get on, but I'm here. I won't go through all of the rigmarole that I went through having to download and whatnot, but hey, I'm here. And it's good to see all of you.
Absolutely. Pastor Pringle, our subject today is about hidden racism, close encounters of a common kind. So you came to sing, but we're gonna turn it over to you now. I'm going to let you do what you came to do, sir.
Well, amen. Oh, okay. Well, I'll just go ahead with the song. I'm trying to pull up this technology. Can you all hear the music? Can you? Okay. Yes. Well, I tell you, this song is entitled "Jesus is the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me."
I love that song.
And I'm telling you, in the midst of all that's going on, this is something that, for me personally, I'm just holding on to. I've had my share of life's ups and downs. But God's been good to me. And the downs, they have been few. Oh yes, you can say that God has blessed me.
Okay.
Because there's never been a time in my life that He didn't bring me through. Whoa, if anyone should ever want to write my life story, for whatever reason, there might be. JESUS should be written between every line of pain and glory. Jesus is the best thing. Oh, Jesus. Yes, He is the best thing. I said, Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. Oh, should anybody ask me for some information Desmond Pringle, for whatever reason there might be. I need you to tell him for me. One day when I was lost, Jesus sent out an APC just for me. He said, apprehend that man. I have a calling, I have an assignment. And he called me by my name. That's why I say, Jesus, hey, he is the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. The reason why I say he's the best thing is because there have been times in my life, I'm talking about since I've been saved, that I should have been this and I should have been dismissed because I did not dot every I and cross every T. But he never casted me away. But I continue to hear the still small voice of Jesus say, come on, dance, come on, dance, come on, dance. And when I think about the fact that he knows everything there is, he knows the good, the bad, and the ugly, but yet he remains faithful. That's why I say Jesus is the best thing that's ever happened to me, because his love for me has nothing to do with my love for him. Hey, he loves me when I'm right. He loves me when I'm wrong. He loves me when I'm weak. He loves me when I'm strong. No matter whatever, from his love I can never be severed. I say Jesus is the best thing that ever. Oh, yeah. Jesus is the best thing
Hey,
that ever happened to oh, yeah.
All right.
It's the best thing.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Praise
you
God.
gotta turn it on.
you shut it down, man.
Wait a minute, what are the sound effects? Okay, you're gonna have to, when we get off this, you're gonna have to hook me up with this technology.
I got you
man.
covered. I got you covered, man.
Okay, amen.
I love you so much, man.
I
Every
love
time
you
you ask
too.
me to do
I love
something,
you too.
you do it, man. I love you so much. I pray God open doors for you
Amen.
in this
Amen.
season that no man can close.
Yes.
I know your spirit and your heart, and you're a person you're really dedicated to it, and I love you. That man came out to Somerville one night in the cold now, and sang for us. And I mean, it was cold out there that night. I mean, cold. And I thank God for you. I thank God for you. And I think we all use that, man. I love you, man.
Okay, I love you too, for real. I love you too, for real.
Oh.
Real quick, does Pastor Pringle have Instagram? I'm not Instagram. Twitter, Facebook.
I do. I have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and it's Desmond Pringle. It's Des. Oh, you know what? I don't know how. Oh, he has it. I'm going across the screen. So yeah, it's just my name, Desmond Pringle.
Okay.
Now, is everyone on this feed? Is everyone in the Charleston area in South Carolina?
Yeah. I'm in Mounts Corner.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. Who's Mounts Corner?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
But everybody else is Charleston? Okay.
Goose
I
Creek.
said this sister.
Atlanta by way of Charleston.
Oh, okay. Great. And I see Sister Laura. She's muted
Come
though.
on.
I don't hear her, but
I'm past that way.
oh, okay. I mean, I'm Charleston born and bred, but I live in California now. But I told
I have loud children, so I tend to be muted. Yes, I'm Atlanta. No matter how many times I remind them.
I understand.
Let me do the connection real quick.
Oh, sorry. I'm just taking over.
You back to town? You coming back to town this year?
Marietta Grant. You know Marietta?
Yeah.
Marietta and Desmond, first cousins. Yeah, they're first cousins. Marietta, Felicia Grant, Lisi, they're first cousins.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm coming home in a couple of weeks. It's the plan. You know.
You blessed us so much.
What
Listen.
part of California are you in? I'm sorry, sweetheart.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what part of, Pastor Pringle, what part of California are you in?
Oh, LA, Los Angeles.
Okay.
Okay,
Say
my
that again.
husband's from
Oh,
the
about
Bay.
5. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, so then
My husband is from the Bay.
So yeah, thank God. I mean, we're not near the fires, but is your husband's family, are they affected by the fires at all?
His
Okay.
best friend is, but they're okay. Everyone's
Amen.
okay. Everyone's okay.
Because it's real. It's real. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. I don't want to monopolize the time. It sounds this was a very, very good talking point.
Man, listen, I love you.
Amen.
You can't even hear. You really, I'm telling you, you really gave us some inspiration today. I'm really, that blessed me. I got to preach Sunday. I think I might preach Jesus is the best thing that ever happened to me.
To connect.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, it is more than a song for me. And just that whole concept, even as I was listening to, I caught the tail end of what April Guy Driver was saying, and it's real. These things are real. And certainly I think that there are people on both sides of the issues. I think that there are people who exaggerate and use things to their own advantage. So I'm not even focusing on that. But when I hear a mother say the things that she's saying, these are real issues. And because everything is being so politicized, I don't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we have a leadership problem that we can't trust either. So when I say Jesus, and don't get, I am going to be democratically responsible. I'm going to vote. I'm going to exercise, and do my part. I think it's a travesty for any Black person to not vote. I think for us to just sit back and, be disenfranchised and say my vote doesn't matter. We saw what happened.
Who's Desmond? I don't see him.
I hear somebody, but I don't see them who's saying. Anyway, these are real issues, and I mean, it's when I say Jesus is the best thing, I'm not just being spiritual and spooky. At the end of the day, that is who we absolutely ultimately have to trust with every aspect of our lives. And he is faithful. He is faithful, and he will keep us. He will direct us. And I plan to be a Black man that lives safely and soundly on the planet. And my hope is not in any part of the system. It is in the Lord. I am trusting God to do. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Pastor Pringle, we thank you so much, man.
Yes.
Bless God for you, man. I love you, man. You're welcome to hang out.
Yes, I was just getting ready to say, I have a Zoom call. The travesty of this season that we're in, it's like your people are accessible to you almost 24/7.
Right.
It doesn't matter what time. Like I'm 3 hours away from you all, but it's getting ready to be 2:00 here, and I'm supposed to be on another Zoom. So I am going to have to jet. But I hate that this is a drive-by. But
It's okay, Pastor. Thank you for thinking about us, stopping by and gracing us with your presence today.
thanks for
And
having me.
the Lord use you.
Amen. Praise God. Praise God.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. All right.
Pastor Desmond Pringle.
You better have some sound effects. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
God bless
thank
you.
you.
Love you,
Thank
man.
you.
Love you too. Love you too. And great meeting all of you. And God bless all of you.
Yes, sir. Oh, we will have you back.
I want to be back.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You have a really beautiful
Oh,
Yes.
praise
voice.
God.
Really.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, hit me up on social media because we're in this season. I'm being very intentional I have to build this social media community. And so it is what it is. Look, because our industry is shut down until 2020. They're projecting, the fall of 2021. So everything that we're doing is virtual now. So.
Unabashedly, if you need some help, let me know. I'm connected with a whole bunch of digital folks.
Okay.
We're over here on the east side, but
That's right. Well, listen, unabashedly, I received that. How may I get in touch with you?
I'm going to connect with you on Facebook, and I'll reach out to you. But just to let you know, yeah.
Yes. I'm gonna write your name down. I'm going
I know a whole bunch of hustlers and freelancers, and
that's right. That's the day and time we're in. Hustling is hustling is not a cuss word.
Since I got you here too, I might as well go and ask you about doing a concert for the Democratic convention. We're gonna throw something together for voting.
Oh, okay.
So
when is that? For next year? For
this year,
2024.
What
convention?
We're gonna do it virtual, not the convention now. But I'm
got you. Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I missed the memo.
No, we got you.
Look,
I
the Democrats better convene. I don't want to be political. Never mind.
No, but I'm hit you up about that too.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I love you, man.
Because the Proud Boys are amped up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Amped.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They should not be.
They should not be, but unbelievable. And I cannot believe that rational Christian people defend it. That even if support your party. I get that. If you just can't come over to the Democrat side, okay. But how do you endorse just outright? It's not even a dog whistle anymore. It is flat out. You don't have to read between the lines anymore. It is in plain sight.
Because they're not reading what's being filed in the Ninth Circuit Court. That's what they're doing.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Because they're just not reading what's being filed in the Ninth Circuit Court. So they're just not seeing what's being levied against him. They're not seeing that's the taxes were released, not by his doing. He didn't do it because he wanted to. The New York Times didn't find the taxes, because somebody dropped a dime. The judge released those filings. That didn't happen by chance. Though they don't read it. They don't read. They don't follow the money. They don't read. So they just think these victories, these shallow victories just happen by chance. So that's why they're empty. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching that the convictions happen one by one and the filings. I'm waiting for the other shoes. The shoes. I'm waiting for Imelda Marcos to show up. I am not thinking about the Proud Boys. I'm mad. I'm sitting here looking at April, and I'm like, Facebook took her out of my timeline. Like what? I forgot. That's right. I used to enjoy when she popped up. Like, what happened? Okay.
The algorithm.
Laura's right.
So let me ask you this. So, okay, this is interesting. So
this isn't about religion. This isn't about a following. This is about, I need to stay out of jail.
Yes.
And Laura is, what Laura is saying is, he's saying all of these things and he's doing all of these things. He's just pandering
Yes.
to his base. And, you know, so let's just remove why he's doing it for a moment. But this is what he is doing. He is pandering to his base. He doesn't believe in any of this.
Right.
He is pro-abortion. He has not read the Bible a day in his life. Okay. You know, he can't think beyond a chart. But this is about staying in office so I don't stay in jail. And so I'm going to say whatever it is that people need to hear for me to get that support. That's all. It's as simple as that. It is no more. And Laura hit it on the head.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Now, there are some of our religious institutions that, and our media that help him along in a way that through their polite speak, that help him get away with some of the things that he gets away with when they do headlines like Trump misleads his supporters, et cetera, as opposed to saying the word lie, as opposed
right.
as opposed to, you know, things like that. That is not helpful. Our religious institutions, when they don't call a spade, when they, you know, when he says things like, you know, they want me to stay another 4 years. You think they want me to stay another 4 years? I think they want me to stay another 4 years. Who is they? You know, and instead of following that up with asking that question, they don't do that. They don't say, constitutionally, that is against the law. That's not possible. They don't say those things. They say Trump wants to stay another 4 years. He's suggesting that he wants to stay in, you know, they just kind of carry that torch.
Right.
Instead of reinforcing the laws that we have in place. It's disturbing, but you know, that this is where we are. This is where we are. It's the same thing we do with some other things we have that's wrong in our country. When our boys, our children are hurt, when they're shot, they call them young men. When it's a child, when a police officer beats up a child. When a police officer shoots a child, it's not even called child abuse. It's called abuse of authority. When you are resisting arrest, when you're not under arrest, when people don't even realize that a resisting arrest is an add-on to being arrested. You can't even resist arrest without being arrested for an original offense. It's an add-on to the original offense.
And I think what Laura's talking about is the way the media helps support and twist this.
Yes.
When it's a child, it's an assailant, right? But when it's a white kid that goes across state lines, it's a patriot, that sort of thing. I think but the part of the challenge for you, Pastor Pringle, is getting to those Christians who want to be on the right side of Trump, but can't reconcile themselves. You know, Allison and I are part of a group, PolitiChat, and Cornell as well. I don't know if you guys are, but you know, we're through convincing people. It is truly at a point where if someone says they're Christian and they're still supporting Trump, they just can't bring themselves to say that they're a racist, misogynist, racist, rapist. They can't say that. They try to find other ways to justify.
Closet racist.
Exactly. Closet rapists.
Yeah.
Racists and rapists, literally. So, you know, I think part of your challenge is really standing in front of those folks, that 10% of Black folks right now who are voting for Trump.
Well, what I found is whatever a person is committed to, whatever their line of thinking is,
That's it.
You know, there's no reasoning, and there's no, rationalizing with them. And it's so unfortunate because I try to be objective and, process things in context, but I am noticing more and more. And I'm talking about when you're having a conversation or a debate or a discussion with otherwise intelligent people. I mean, I have a brother right now in the ministry. I mean, not a biological brother, but a fellow brother in ministry, who tells me, calls me, texts me all the time, all of the current news feeds to support his point. And his point is, he's telling me, y'all better not let Biden and Harris get in there. They're gonna shut down churches. They gonna
Crazy.
I mean, so my point is, whatever ideology you subscribe to, no matter what happens on the news, we're looking at the video. We're looking at the miscarriage of justice in plain sight, and they will find a way to explain the justification. Or how about this one? This one. Like, we're looking at all of the facts, and they will say, well, you know what? Let's just wait until we get all the facts. I'm looking at the facts. You're looking at the facts.
Fake news is their best defense. Last night, this show was gonna be comedy, because I like to laugh, and I have this show was gonna be comedy, but what happened? It wasn't gonna be moral compass. I got the moral compass one night when I was like up late in the morning, and I was just thinking about Breonna Taylor and couldn't sleep. And I said, I got to hit some of these things, because I've got some classmates, they're going crazy. Basically, they've come out, and one told me, he said, Cornell, you just seem up in arms. And he didn't say it to me, but he wrote it, and I could hear how he was saying it. You just seem up in arms. And I mean, I think that for me, or going on Facebook last night and seeing a person that was a mentor to me in ministry, the guy taught me. I went to school and he was an instructor, and to sit down and watch him write, first thing he'll say, killing babies and all that. And then so I put up there, I said, you know what? I don't know what kind of antebellum slave mentality, ideology they preaching. I don't know where they get the fact Jesus must have been racist. I said, but bottom line is this: just come out and say it. It's almost like, you want the truth, you can't handle the truth. And I'm like, go ahead and say it. Say it. You feel we should be subservient, because that's what you were saying. That's the main reason why you want Trump to get back in office, to drain the swamp. A Klan saying, to make America great again. Another Klan saying, the Klan used to say it all the time, and to keep us in our place. And so these are the things that they're not saying, but it's understood. And so I said, you know what? I'll keep hitting it. And I mean, I understand that I ruffled some feathers, but I learned about some people during this time period. I learned some things about people that I thought that we were just like tight and down like 4 flat tires. I need to feel now.
Well, I can't speak for all families, but I know for my family, this time has been good for my family. Mm-hmm. It has been a good time for my children to be pulled out of school, to kind of, we've gotten closer. And some, I posted on my page, some of these racist teachers, they're not going to be happy, because some parents are going to be able to see what's really going on in these classrooms. And sure enough, those things have come to light. And, as far as the two candidates, I understand that Biden is not the strongest candidate that the Democratic Party could have offered. But, and Democrats are not stupid. I really believe that it is my belief that the Republicans, as far as Black people, will kill us, and the Democrats will watch us die. But until I'm going to vote Democrat, so I have an opportunity to fight another day. And until we have a hard left leaning, reparations, promoting, Pan-African candidate that I can support, then that's who I'm rocking with, and that's just what it is. So to me, that's what we have. And what I see is this whole Make America Great Again. What people don't even understand fundamentally is economically, the only time America was great is when we had free labor, which was us. That's really what they're talking about. And I've said this for years, and people think I'm a whole nut, is that I've never thought that they were after abortion rights. I've always thought they were after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, trying to roll it back. I've always felt that. So, but that's just me. I've never thought they were after abortion. They always made it about abortion. But what do they get from rolling back abortion? I mean, really, what do they get from that? Whether babies live or die. I understand it's a moral issue, but racists have never proven to be moral people. So what do they get from that moral hill that they die on, or in this case, live? I really think it's about servitude, but that's just my opinion.
That's a
Laura, I
very
also think,
interesting line of thinking. I know. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But I also think there's a lot of dynamics at play here as well into what you're saying. There's also we have the world court looking at us now. We have the world looking at us now. We are the 240-year experiment. We are still a young country, comparatively speaking, to all the other countries you look at. I mean, Europe is what, 10,000 years old?
Mm-hmm.
So, we are the grand experiment, and everyone is looking at us. And we've proven that it could be done, that you could have people live in harmony and work and have a democratic society. Now, that hadn't happened yet, in the past 4 years, I agree with you. But I think when you keep in context all the things that are at play, we're still a viable society. I do think the democratic society is still a possibility. I think that the experiment is still a possibility. And all you have to do is look at the alternative, right? You got a president running around poisoning people because he doesn't like what they say. That's pretty horrific. You got a president running around jailing journalists and gay men because he doesn't like what they say or do. That's the Philippines. And the first one was Putin, of course.
Yes.
So when you put that on the measuring stick, we're at a pretty good part of the great experiment. And I think I think it takes a little history. Don't get me wrong, I don't disagree with you. If they could take it back, I truly believe there is a segment of this society. If he could take me and put me in the kitchen for the next 40 years, he would do it. He would absolutely. Would he put my son in the fields? I absolutely believe that. I believe there's a violent part of American society that still exists, that still believes in that. But they're outnumbered, and they're going to age out, and they are going to demographic out, whatever that means. In other words, the demographic side is happening. It's real. They have a very real fear. They're going to die. In 2024, 20% of the classroom, if I believe this number is right, 20% of the classroom, not 20, 30% of the classroom is going to be mixed. Think about that. That means the next set of voting generations are going to be of color, connected to somebody of color, or know somebody who knows somebody of color. The white segment of this experiment is dying. It's dying.
So what you're saying is so critical. You know, when I will never forget when I was in corporate America, my boss said to me, he made I had never heard this phrase before, but it really resonated with me. And he said, we were having a discussion one day, and he was letting me know that, hey, whatever you want, whatever I wanted to do with this particular project, that it was my project. And I'm like, are you sure? And he made this statement. He said, whoever owns the gold makes the rules. And I say that to say this, while we have been distracted by impeachment, and I'm not criticizing that, but while that has been, impeachment, Russian collusion, those have been the main talking points for the past 3 years, or as he put it last night, 47 months. Okay, those have been the main talking points. And while that has been getting all of the attention, they have been stacking the courts, because that's where the rules are made. So
yes,
they know that the great white male, if you will, like you just said, they are dying out and they won't be recreated, and they're going to be outnumbered by Black and brown and Armenian and Russian and all of these different immigrants that are coming over. It's fine. Okay, it's nothing we could do about this growing population of non-white people. But if we own the courts, if we make, and I thought it was interesting that he let that out the bag last night, that we're looking at the Supreme Court, and as we should, because that's major. And barring a miracle, they're going to get that third seat, barring a miracle. Okay. But aside from that, not only will in his first year, in his 47 months, will he have seated 3 Supreme Court justices? They have stacked the lower courts. That's major. While we were asleep and while we were not aware. And I say this every time I come home to Charleston, there often I'll say there's a press release. Not press release. There's a press conference that's taking place in front of City Hall, or about a measure that has passed. And I said to one of the leaders a few months ago, I'm like, this is disturbing to me, that you all feel like you're accomplishing something because you get 2 weeks to bicker. So you get headlines on the newspapers, and you get some airtime on the local news. And I'm not racist. I'm not. Some of the most beneficial people to me in my life have been non-blacks. So I am not racist. I'm just stating facts.
Michelle, I didn't see you down there. I'm sorry.
I'm listening.
Sorry. I had you back to the screen. I'm sorry. We kind of left the format, but we were talking. I'm sorry about that, but we were. I didn't mean to cut you off, Pastor, but we were. It just it's flowing. It's flowing. It's
and Pastor's about to make me rock in my chair. I swear to God.
Yeah. And I'm almost. I just want to say this, but they don't care. They really don't care if we protest, if we have all of these rebuttals. They don't care, because we don't have pen power. And as long as you don't have pen, fine. It's like, let them balk, let them complain, let them. It doesn't matter.
That's the foundation of the Constitution. That's the great experiment. Write laws to keep man in line.
Yeah.
A pastor told me this one time, and I love sharing this story. It's real quick. I'm sorry, Pastor Pringle, just real quick.
That's fine.
But imagine if you have a car accident and you are in the middle of the road. Everybody stops.
Yes.
To let the ambulance by.
Yes.
To help you.
Yes.
And when I say that, when we boil it all down, it's about community, and laws drive those communities. Yeah, there's a law that says I can't just run over Allison when she's in the middle of the road. I have to go around. Not only do I have to go around, I got to make room for the ambulance to come and save her. because it's a community aspect. And I
Yes.
say this as an example of what the Constitution was built on, that you should not treat others in such a way that detrimented the whole community. Because
Yes.
we're seeing it now. If you can walk into if you can walk into her house and shoot her, you can walk into my house and shoot me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it is the opposite of when they do public notices. The opposite of that thought process is to put a public notice in the middle of a street, because when you're driving, you do not naturally, organically stop in the middle of a street as you're driving. You stop at the end of the street. You won't know about a public notice.
But
You will know about it at the stop light, at the stop sign, to be
think
informed.
think of the graciousness that we have as a society, and think of the laws that we have as a society, Laura, that you stop so that someone can come to help me. You're not only doing it because it's the law or because it's posted. You're doing it because it's the right moral thing to do, because my health is directly related to your health. You know, what happened to Breonna Taylor can happen to you. What happened to Blake can happen to my son. And that's where I get irritated, because when you boil it down, it's really about protecting each other. As long as we protect each other and we create these laws that protect each other, we have a society. Putin's not doing that. He's poisoning whoever he doesn't give a shit about. Excuse me.
And in the meantime, and I was saying this at the beginning of the pandemic, that in the meantime, at the very beginning of this, the insurance companies, the first one, Omaha Insurance Company, decided that the COVID-19 was a pre-existing condition. They were the first one to decide that. And I was like, and so starts the snowball.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Please. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Oh,
when this first started, back in October-ish, the gentleman that showed up in Stone Mountain with all the rifles, and I happen to know them.
I totally get that story.
And I was trying to find some N95 mask and those kind of things, and I got the word that some insurance companies were talking about the pandemic was coming. It wasn't here yet. It was right around the time, right before Kobe, unfortunately, passed away.
So that was in January.
And I was telling people that this pandemic was coming, and I was sounding crazy. And then I was hearing that insurance companies were talking about making this a pre-existing condition. And Omaha Health Insurance Company was the first one to decide that COVID-19 would be a pre-existing condition. So all of these people right now that are going and getting all these tests, do you know who has access to the tests that, we're all taking, where these kits are going and who's providing the kits? And, it's just one more thing, that you have to kind of say, okay, where is that information going? Where is it, who's storing it? Where is it coming from? Who's providing it? Who's paying for it? Who's paying for this? It's just one more thing to kind of worry about and process, and or maybe not. There's 1,000 other things to worry about. If I had my druthers, my kids would never go back to school. I'm okay with that, because as far as I'm concerned, they're not doing a good job of teaching them anyway. Because in my mind, I don't need any more white empathy. I need action. I don't need any more white empathy. I'm good on that. Okay. And I need my Black people. I need my Black brothers and sisters. I don't need any more ask. I need movement. I need demands. I need, it's time to storm the gate, and I need us to teach our own. That's enough of that. That's enough.
Fired up now. We about to take a coup. Let me get.
It's enough of that. It's time to just teach our own. There's enough. Listen, we don't own anything, and I don't mean I don't mean the hair care products and soap and candles. I mean everything. Criminal justice, healthcare, music, logistics, services, press, communications, pharmaceuticals, government. I mean,
We don't own
it's all of us
anything
and
that
everything.
is
We can do it
foundation.
all. There's nothing that we can't do.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
We don't own anything. We don't own anything that is the foundation of the country.
Yes, when you go out your front door, there's nothing to
Mhm.
your left and right that we don't own everything of. And it's just not good. We can't continue to be consumers in every aspect of our lives. It's just not healthy. We can't continue to tell our children to go get a job. From who? Who got the bag of jobs? What
You know,
bothers
Bag of
me
jobs.
is, you know, if you go, who's the number one provider? Who's the number one employer in South Carolina? You know, I mean, if Cornell, if you are if you make $300,000 a year, you are as a C-level employee at any company in South Carolina, and you lose your job. If all of us are employed in South Carolina, could any of us employ you? Could any of us hire you in South Carolina? And let's be very clear.
You're ruined. You're
You
ruined.
are making that kind of money. In all probability, you're carrying other people in your family, in your community.
So Laura brought up two good points.
April, I'm gonna let you say that, but then I'm gonna have to get Allison and Michelle
Sure.
into the conversation.
And,
Yeah.
and thanks. And this was great. They're calling me. I've got
Okay.
to go. This was
Okay.
good.
Man, I love you. I'm glad you hang around. You hung
Yes,
around, man.
I'm coming.
No,
I'm coming.
this is another, so Cornell, it's just another topic for later on, but Laura brought up really good points. What is ownership? What is economic ownership? What is true economic ownership? To her point, bravely, it's not candles and soaps and
Y'all gonna come back for that show?
I'm in.
Y'all gonna come back for that show? That one, we're gonna finish this one, but I like that. You're gonna come back. Can I get the same panel back for that show? All right, 10-4. I'm telling you, I'm loving this. You know what? Everybody on here needs their own podcast because of the great voices that we have. And in the last couple of days, you just don't know how this podcast has blessed me, because I've sat here and I've listened to people and listened to their stories and the things they've said, and it has blessed me. And I'm gonna get Allison and Michelle involved. You know, I got them here. Allison Taylor Gatson, this question is for you. Allison, tell us, you have a business also, don't you? You're a business owner?
Yes, it's called Beautiful Impressions, and I created it because after working within a school district with a lot of kids and stuff, and every child has a different story, and some not as good as others. So it's just to try to, like, I do a lot of photography, I do a lot of photo shoots, things like that. And you'd be surprised to know, just from them seeing themselves, how it, like, just elevates their self-esteem. So I just started, I got a good group, and hopefully once all of this pandemic is over with, then I'll be able to get within the schools and stuff to help a lot more of those kids and get them, self-motivated.
Okay.
Go
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, okay.
I'm gonna hit you with your question now. Your question, Allison Taylor Gatson, as a retired law enforcement officer, in your understanding of no-knock warrants and the Breonna Taylor case, from your expertise, is there some blanks you can fill in for those of us that are not law enforcement?
Little heavy.
Because see, I'm not saying that from a place of you being the cops, like those cops, because you get me fired up by looking at your page sometimes. And I'm serious now. There's certain people that can just get me fired up, you know. And there's certain people that say things to me like Laura, like the people that I have here.
In all fairness, Cornell, that's a really heavy, multi-level, complicated question.
Okay.
And I'm just saying it out here. This is the first time we're doing this, but
Okay.
I really think it's unfair to ask her
All right.
that kind of question that takes a real lot of reflection and a lot of understanding of all the levels of law enforcement.
So we'll strike.
Not saying you can have it, but I'm just saying, that you're asking me to write a term paper on the podcast.
Well, Allison Taylor Gadsden, the other question for you is, when was the first time you encountered racism? And how did it make you? And did you make a pledge to yourself after encountering racism? Was there anything you said that you were going to do as a result of the racism you encountered?
After work, I worked in law enforcement for almost 23 years before I retired. And
thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Absolutely.
And it's one thing when you see all the stuff that's going on now, the sad part about it is it's not something that has just started. You understand what I'm saying? It's just become more prevalent, and it's sad. And
it got hit, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And
being an African American, especially an African American woman, working within, behind that badge, it's not easy. Because I grew up and I was raised that you do what's morally right. You do what you know is right. And my favorite saying was, the only thing you can do is tell me to give you your stuff and send me home, because I was surviving before I came and I'll be surviving when I leave. Wow. But I was not about to be out there in that street doing something that is just morally wrong to people. And I stood firmly in my word, and it unfortunately it cost me a lot, but I didn't care about that, because I was out there trying to help, especially our youth. I got children myself. I have 3. And when you are an African American and a parent with Black children, you pray in a whole different way. And some of the things that I've seen, I've encountered racism before I started working in law enforcement. I've encountered racism the entire time that I was working in law enforcement, and I still, even after, continue to receive it. From something as simple as answering a call, providing a service, doing my job, and when you get there, just to hear, I don't want a nigger in my yard.
Wow.
Or I don't want not an African American, but the terminology they use, I don't want to say it on your show, Cornell. I'm not going anywhere with you, because I don't allow your kind around me or my kids. Just a whole lot of stuff. And they expect you to have, you have to have tough skin, like they like to say, to hearing, walking down the hall and you can hear other officers, not of your color, using racial acronyms pertaining to African Americans, and then I would, and then I would, the most common one was Dan. If you ever heard them use the term Dan, D-A-N, their terminology for Dan is dumb a Nick. Right.
Oh, really?
Right. And whenever I heard it, then I was ready to be written up, because I confronted them on it. And me and my mouth, I lit up into them. And then when I get to higher ups, then it's just brushed under the rug.
And this is 88, 87. Allison, forgive me. You're ahead, you're behind. Are you older than?
I am. No, I graduated. As far as my age, I'm 49.
God
And
damn it.
This was not long.
I'm the
This
oldest
is not long, but
You hear 85,
It-
85, 86?
oldest person in the room.
I graduated in 89.
Shut up, Cornell.
But I say all of that to say this. We as African American can be so much stronger. We can accomplish so much more. We can do so much more as a group that's strength in numbers. We can, hey, I'm all for it. You know, the protest, have your voice heard. But when push comes to shove, when you have the African Americans that's in the higher positions, what are they doing to help the rest? What are they doing to try to make a difference, like within our communities and things like that? There's nothing. And I tried to do everything that I could, working in the schools, talking to the kids, from you hearing teachers telling some that they ain't never gonna be nothing anyway. And then when I get a hold of them and I work with them, and then they graduate and they come back and they're doing good. And when they come visit you, that's the best feeling in the world, because you see them and they're doing so good for themselves. And I make it my business for that teacher to see them. You understand what I'm saying? And to make them think. You can belittle them all day, but if we stand behind our people and stand behind our children and everything else, they can be strong. But we don't do that. And it's sad. One time I thought about writing a book.
You should.
In regards to my experience.
You know what I'm doing? I'm writing stuff about you right now.
I really would love to, I thought about writing a book in regards to my experiences from the time I started there, from the time I retired. And it's just, people, my grandmother used to say, when you're on the outside, you peeping through somebody's window, and what you think you know what's going on, but when that person closed that curtain or them blinds, you don't know what's going on behind those closed doors.
You don't know people.
You don't know.
Absolutely not.
It's a lot. My children, I try to tell them, even when they were smaller, just from being in a grocery store. And my daughter, the sweetest little girl in the world, well, not little anymore, but she's in college. And the lady that was in front of us, she had there was something heavy in her buggy. So my daughter went to help her, get it from under there, and she put her hand up in my child's face and told her, "Don't touch anything that is in my buggy. I don't want you touching, you or your kind touching anything that belongs to me."
Crazy.
In a store right here on Monk's Corner. And I went up to, and before I could do anything, my daughter stopped me and she looked at that lady and she said, "Well, you get it yourself." She said, "That's what's wrong with this world." She said, "You just mean for nothing. You just mean and nasty for nothing." Put that lady in her place. And it took everything out of me not to, have my say. But after that experience, we got in the car and I asked her how it made her feel. And, to talk about it. And, Cornell, I can go on for days in regards to racism. And when you see, even now, after I retire, I get the looks I get, or I get followed by some of the new ones. And if you go certain places and you have your retirement, your ID to show you're retired, and then it's or
so you get cops that follow you?
Yeah. I don't look like the average officer. I have locks in my hair. That's what I was told. So because I had locks in my hair, how can you be an officer with those things in your hair? I've had that question asked to me too. It's a whole lot of stuff that people just don't know. And I try to, like with church, I went as far as talking to my pastor, to talk to the kids, and it's sad it's come to this point in regards to things that you should or you shouldn't do when you in your car if you get pulled over.
Okay, so right here. Speaking truth to power, given your experience, because I've written down 16 damn things that I would love to know about you. But speaking truth to power, where we are now, where Cornell's podcast is right now, watching the debate.
That's your question. Don't you ask her that question. That's your question. Let me get Michelle. Michelle,
I don't have any more work.
tell me a little bit about yourself, Michelle.
Trying to be
No, okay, I'll take another question if she answers this question, because she has such a unique perspective. You know, a Black female cop. I'll take another question, but you know, we should continue this conversation.
But let me get her next. Let me get Michelle now. My people.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi.
Michelle, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself, Michelle.
Okay, so first, my name is Michelle Harris. I'm originally from Jersey City, New Jersey. I've gone to South Carolina State, and I've come down south, and I'm living in South Carolina since 2011. So I have the best of both worlds. And what I would say is that that's the reason now why my slogan is show some love. But Cornell, I'd like you to go to your question first before I address that. And there are a lot of things that have been spoken thus far from everyone on the panel. And it's sad to say that we're still in the day that we have to have this discussion.
Right.
It's problematic. If we had a village back then that kind of protected us from this situation. Right now, we're all over the place, as they mentioned, how we're going to be mixed moving forward. So there's not going to be any, black this. But right now, where we are is what they try to eliminate is something that they can't. Let's stick there. But at the same token, are they really? They may not drain our color, but what about our culture?
Right.
That's the problem. Where are we right now? Where is the family? Where is the unity? Where is the community? Okay, I'll go to your question, Cornell.
Don't get me fired up now. This is like the best show we've had. I had fighting with April. I love April.
I work for hamburgers and beers.
Coming right up. Michelle Harris.
Yes.
As the president of the Charleston chapter of the National Action Network, police accountability is non-negotiable. In conversations with some of my friends, I find police accountability is always the elephant in the room. If we protest, we're rioting. We have Black Lives Matter counted out of context with Blue Lives Matter, as if it were relevant to the slaying of unarmed Black people. What can you say to make people that are not of the Black persuasion understand the need for police accountability? Another question connected with that. April stepped off so I can ask you, because April will tell me she'll censor my question. Is racism hidden in plain sight? And why are we the only ones to see it? But the first question was, what can you tell people to persuade them that are not of our pigmentation that, police need to be held accountable?
Well, first I would have, you know how it is. You have to be in my shoes to understand my plight. So I would want you to pretend to be a Black person for not one day, but for a week, and not just a Black person, because there's differences between a Black man and a Black woman. Be a Black family together and live the life in the Black community, working as a Black person, all of the above, just for 1 week, and see the differences on the workforce as opposed to the lifestyles. Now we get into police. There is the police reform, that's already taken flight. I believe that they need to focus on their life, reverse it. How would you like to be treated if you weren't the cop and I was? If all Black people were just police officers and you were the white person say that white people got treated like Black people got treated, put it in that manner. And how would you feel if I murdered you just because you were Black? if I stood on your neck just because you were Black, if I stopped you while you were driving just because you were Black, just for that 1 week, let's see where things go. Because at the same token, no one wants to be harmed. That's the main thing. It's all about fear. It's all about someone doing better. And not only is that with police officers, that's even in our own race.
Absolutely.
It's fear. Fear is you thinking that either someone is either better than you or going to harm you in some facet or take something from you. If they can overcome fear, I believe that we will be a better United States of America. It's all about fear. Now, what was that second question?
The second question is racism hidden in plain sight. And why are we the only ones that can see it?
That goes right back to what I said initially. And it's funny because it's sad. I showed my daughter a meme where this guy driving behind a police officer, not wanting to pass that police officer because that's the norm with Black people. We are not going to set ourselves up to be pulled over just because we're Black riding past a police officer, because there will be a reason. You'll say my light wasn't on. You'll say I didn't put on the turn signal. So that's a matter of fear from us to them. It's a power that we know they have that they manipulate. Now, I wrote something down about accountability that mixes in with this. Harassment, murder, violating, humility, and manipulation. This all goes along with police brutality. This is what Black people feel every time they see a police officer, that something like this is going to happen to them if it hadn't already. Now, with us having to train our children on not having this fear to live as a Black person with all of this and still excelling is a problem. And that's why I started off with, when you first introduced me, we're talking about the village, because that's what's missing. And that's why things are happening to people from our community, because there's no longer a community. There's no longer that strength behind our culture. We have a color, but everything else is taken from us. Where's the unity? Where there's unity, there's what?
Strength.
And the definition of insanity, doing the same thing, right? Expecting something different. So if we continue to protest, which is really doing a change, but I don't think a change is paying someone for murdering someone.
Right.
Let me
Exactly.
Let me can I?
You know, there was something community-oriented policing. I would always tell them, you have to have that community-oriented policing. That, you know, how, the perfect example. There's the African-American areas. They would get calls, and the white officers, they would just fly. Oh, they got to have a whole group going to this particular area, and I would come right across the radio and stop them from coming, and I would go by myself. Because whenever, even if I'm not answering a call, I would go into the community and talk to the people and everything, you know, and I would always tell them, you fear what you don't understand. How you gonna know people if you don't get out and go into these communities and talk to the people? And they would look at me like I'm crazy. I tried to push the issue of community-oriented policing. You have to get out and you have to know the people. They wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing again, and that goes back to when you have the African-American officers that's in the higher positions, and you go to them and you talk to them about these issues. And I even took the initiative to say, hey, I'll start it. You know, I'll get into it. I'll handle it. And they didn't want me to do that because of fear that, oh, if she does this and it works, she might get my position. I don't want that. I don't care about the position. You understand what I'm saying? My issue was making sure that you get them out there into the communities, get to know the people, and I would never get the backing for it. So here I am, stuck again. It's like, it's not that it can't be done. They choose not to do it. So that, again, just like you said, it comes to the community.
But let
You
me
know?
tell you, I'm affiliated with National Action Network, and what we do is we do partner with the city of North Charleston. We've actually taken with them and walked the community. We go to certain areas that are bad areas and walk the community and speak with the people in the community. So that is something that is happening. It's just not happening as often as it should.
Right. It
Like
has to be repetitive.
You know, like, so
Right.
they'll do it for about a month and say, okay, well,
And
we've
then stop.
met our initiative,
Right.
and that's
Also, I'd like to piggyback that myth of the broken Black family. I think it's a myth. I think there are, in many, many different forums, there is a strong Black family, for better or worse, right? And I think
that myth, that broken family thing is a myth. I've been a single mother and I raised 3 kids by myself. I got one that's a military veteran, I got one in NFL, and I got a daughter that's a scholar athlete.
That's
So
what's up.
all that
That's
stuff,
what's up.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to say I'm better than nobody else. I'm saying it
Mhm.
because I come from nothing. Okay. And if I can come from nothing, there's no reason why I can't motivate these other kids to let them see that being a product of your environment is an excuse. You don't have to do that. You can break that cycle. You can go out there and you can do it.
Yeah.
You know?
And for many families, there is no cycle. There is a good family. There
Right.
is a good mother and a good father, or just a good mother, or just a good father.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't think everything's just a
I agree
stereotype.
with that. But I know there's this, the president of National Action Network. I am the vice president, but it's this guy named Charles Tyler. And his thing is this, you can take care of your family. You can raise them the best you can, but they have to walk through their door and go out into the community.
Right.
So it has to be a community affair, not just you taking care of your home, because no matter how well you're doing it, something can happen right outside your door.
And I didn't mean to imply that it was just me. It isn't just me. And I'm sure it isn't just Allison. So I didn't mean to imply that we did it all ourselves.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that.
There are factors at play. There are people at play. There are beliefs at play. There's action at play by all of us as parents, as a community. So I apologize if I was trying to say, hey, I did this and I'm all this. I'm not all.
No.
I wouldn't be here without my first husband, second husband, third husband.
Well, look, April, I had one and done. I don't want no more. No, ma'am.
Wise woman.
Oh, y'all don't want no part of me. I love that Cupid game.
So can I ask you, Michelle? Okay, would you be with the national? You said you were with the National Action Network.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so I would love to communicate with you beyond, to see what, maybe it's something that I could possibly do, especially in this area, to try to push the issue, because the local elections and stuff, this is what matters the most. They just think, okay, the president, the presidential election, yes, that we got to vote for that. But they have to understand these local elections, they matter a lot too, because when you vote these local elections, and you put pressure on them, now you can start making the changes. You know? So I'm just motivated with it because I want to be able to do something. I want to be able to help our youth, help our communities and stuff. There's a lot of programs and stuff that's even within the school district with the training and education and stuff that they can get for free. They don't know nothing about. I want our people to be able to have those same opportunities. But it's like, where do I start? So I really would like to communicate with you further about that.
Okay. I don't know if you saw a recent posting about this police officer who actually quit the force because the head of his department was sending him to, I don't remember the part of Atlanta, but was sending him to a part of Atlanta that was making him arrest young people and making him a part of the gentrification process.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I knew that it was happening, but I just never heard. That was the first time I ever heard that the police department was specifically solicited to be a part of gentrification. So I was blown away by that, because one of the things I always felt that to stop some of the things that go on in over policing and militarization of police, that I always thought that one of the ways to stop that from happening was to impose certain things on individual police officers and those departments, by making the police officers, make them live in the communities that they police, thereby making sure that the salaries that they spend it in the grocery stores, in the communities that they live in, that their kids go to the schools of the people that they are arresting. I mean, you have a different kind of relationship if your kid is playing basketball with the kid that your kid, that you're it's just a different kind of community type of vibe. If you're coming all the way from another county, it is going to be different. So that's one of the things I felt like, and you're giving money from one municipality to another. If you are always sending your money elsewhere by giving it to another officer that lives elsewhere.
I live right within the jurisdiction that I was working. And the only thing I can say is,
Did most of the white officers also live in your jurisdiction? Most of the white officers also live in your jurisdiction? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a mixture. You had very few that were working within this jurisdiction that didn't live here.
Okay.
But again, it still didn't matter, because you have very few of African Americans in positions. Perfect example. I worked within the schools most of my career as an SRO, and then whenever school was out, I'm on patrol. And again, in the summertime, if you work with those kids and you do your job, you get to know them, and you know what some of the situations are. So I would make it my business to go see these kids, go in the communities and stuff, visit with the families and everything during the summer, to make sure, hey, you need anything, you're good, go talk to them and everything, let them see, hey, look, I care about you, And there was an incident that happened, and because I stood up for myself and stood up for what was right, I got reprimanded. And you know what I did? I was saying, you know what? I had enough of this. Absolutely. And I actually made some phone calls to the higher ups. And after working within that particular unit for all those years, because of two people that did not like the stance that I took, I was taken out of that unit and placed elsewhere. So it's like pettiness. You see what I'm saying? There's this pettiness. If you stand up for yourself, they try to do any and everything to get at you. And it's to the point where I didn't even care. If I had to go elsewhere, I would go elsewhere. But you're not going to get me to I'm not doing anything that I'm not supposed to be doing. So it is sad. So I said I could write a book about that. It is really sad. But we have to get out there, and we have to go to do these local elections. We have to follow up on these candidates and do our research. Even if we got to go to the church and have a meeting, about who's running for whatever office. You see what I'm saying? We got to do something, because if we don't make a change, as far as these local elections, it's going to be hard to have any type of change.
Do you think people don't fundamentally understand that the local person, that the do you think people don't fundamentally understand who does what? Like the Secretary of State is over the ballots, like the mayor picks the sheriff.
This is where you go to the schools, because when you hear some of the things that the kids are being taught, they're not being taught what they need to be taught, because you are desperate to get teachers, and you get them, some of the ones that's fresh out of college, and bring them into our schools in certain areas, and most of them know they only got to work there for a year before their student loans can be forgiven, and once their student loans are forgiven, they leave.
They quit. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So
and Laura, don't forget, we visited this earlier. There is a gap between people understanding what they're voting for and what the effects are. And just friendly challenge. I'm just saying, we've got to close the gap between, if I buy this apple and it's poison apple, I need to make the connection that I'm going to die. And there's a huge gap between me biting this apple or buying this apple and me taking it home and buying it. And that's where we are today. There's a lot of Black folk out there who don't understand that their vote matters. And we really need to make that connection. That's all my point. That's it.
I think a big part of misinformation too is what you hear in the media, because if I didn't get an opportunity to work with the Biden campaign, drive Joe Biden around, when he won the South Carolina state primary, I was driving him. We took him on the tarmac. He caught his plane out of there, and let me tell you, his wife, so cool, Jill Biden. I'm telling you, and so basically, I will tell you this, and this is what always resonates with me. The night that he won the primary in South Carolina, we drive him to the airport. We pull up on the tarmac, private airport. He looks at me and he says, "Hey man, thank you for driving me around this week." I said, VP, man, look, it's my pleasure, my pleasure. And he said, no, man. He said, no. He said, thank you. I appreciate you. And, I've always heard the biggest thing was, it's not how people act when they're around other people, it's how they act when nobody's looking. Because that's like the
integrity.
Time that's when nobody's looking, and I'm telling you, and his wife, Dr. Biden is so cool. Y'all guys gonna have to meet her. Because we're gonna have to go to the White House and meet them. I'm telling you. But honestly, I'm telling you, driving for her, she is so cool. And the thing is that if you see who's surrounding the campaign, I mean, the people that's working with them, I can see me in the mirror. You know what I'm talking about?
You don't have to convince us.
Yeah, the people working with them. And the funny thing is, and I will tell you this story because this is gonna trip you out. The whole reason I got even involved with it, because my granddad used to do it, go up and down the highway, and I take him to the poll, and I've been tired, I don't want to go. And he was a poll worker for and I guess I could say I was working on the poll and back on the poll again. But yeah, and that was a joke, but I guess
we got it.
But anyway, I let that one go. But anyway, I was when Michael Bryant has this story, he gonna roll on me now. Matt Best Boy's gonna give me a hard time. I was eating a brownie, and it was a Friday. It was getting ready to go to Myrtle Beach, and I was sitting at a table in a coffee shop. I think Coastal Coffee Roasters, and guy walks up. I was sitting at the table by myself, enjoying my brownie, waiting for my wife to get off. I'm going to Myrtle Beach. I'm gonna chill out. I wasn't bothering nobody. I wasn't talking to nobody. I had a long day at work. I didn't talk to people on the phone all day. I didn't feel like messing with nobody. I was just sitting over there in the corner by myself, eating my brownie and drinking a Perrier. and with my finger, yeah, I do drink Perrier with my pinky. So as I was drinking my Perrier, my pinky extended, sitting in the corner. A whole group comes and sits at the table I'm at. I said, "Well, all these tables, they sit at my table," and they start a conversation about, the convention, about the Democratic convention and everything coming up. And then this other guy comes in and sits right in front of me. He's just so nice. And I had already made up my mind. You make up your mind. I'm not talking to nobody today. I ain't messing about. I don't know nobody. I'm just chilling. I just want to eat this brownie, drink this Perrier, and go. And the guy started talking to me. Next thing you know, we hit common ground, and I'm working for the campaign. And so I said he must have put some magic dust on me, but
no magic, moral dust, no magic dust.
But getting to that and springboarding on the question, and this has been such an awesome show. But I'm just gonna drop this question out there for everybody. I'm gonna drop this question out there for everybody right now, and the question is, to me, last night, the pivotal point, I guess you could say the pivotal point in everything, was when Donald Trump, El Presidente, could not denounce white supremacists. That was, to me, that was like you want the truth, you can't handle the truth. And I was like, I can't believe he said it.
Hold on.
He didn't say it.
Let's preface that with he had a second chance today, and he still would not denounce it. So,
but he was happy to say Proud Boys. That's what they called
them. That's what he called them. I didn't see the
Proud
news.
Boys. Yes, that's what they called them. He said Proud. No, they called Proud Boys.
Yeah.
He cannot get the word white supremacist. He refused to say white supremacist. But then when Vice President Biden said Proud Boys, go ahead and say it. But he had no problem saying Proud Boys, stand by. Stand watch or whatever, stand by. He was letting them know right then and there. But they call them Proud Boys. It's called Proud Boys.
Look, let me go first. I'm just gonna go first because I'm gonna put myself mad. You got me mad. Allison got me mad. I'm calling you after the show, baby, giving you much love. I hate this shit. I hate this shit. But it's done. If you don't believe, and Laura knows this, if you don't believe he is who he is, you haven't been listening. You have not been hearing. And this is it. There are 10% of the people, black people, 10% of black people voting for Donald Trump. I would love to jump in that cave. I don't know who that is. But I'm telling you, he has showed you who he is for the last 3 years. Now it's time to stand up.
Yep.
We're done with this. We're done with these conversations. We're done with these Zoom meetings. It is what it is. It is time to mobilize and get people out to the polls and get people out voting. That's it. I need to hear Allison's pain. I need to hear my pain. I need people on the ground talking about this shit because I'm done. I need to hear Laura's pain. I'm done. The debate does not matter. And if they have another debate, it doesn't matter. If they have another debate, it doesn't fucking matter. Sorry. But it is what it is. This is a racist.
It doesn't.
This is a racist, and we are dealing with a racist. And that's that. I'm sorry.
You don't fill this job up. You don't change my rating from
sorry, Cornell. We go way back though. Give me some credit. I'm just saying, do not hold any regard for this fella. He does not care about us. We've already discussed that right here. Now we need to discuss how we flip the Senate, how we flip the House. Now we need to discuss how we get people, my vote don't matter. I don't care. It don't change nothing to me. I need those people. That's where we need to be. I'm sorry to get very excited, but I'm tired at the end of the day. Sunlight shining on me, making me angry. But I'm just saying, this is where we need to refocus. And it stories, Allison's story.
That's not the icing on the cake, April. We got a lot to talk about.
It's not the icing on the cake, dear, but I swear to God, it's real fucking close. And I swear to you, if you share that, if you share your pain,
That's right.
I'm done. I mean, I'm done. So we need to pivot the conversation to how bad he is and what should we do about his bad behavior to what the fuck do we do about his bad behavior? How do we fix it? How do we flip the Senate? How do we flip the House again? You know, how do we drag people out of their homes and get them to vote? Because that's where I am. I'm through arguing. If you are still with Trump right now, today, I can't help you. I cannot help you. Laura? Back to you, Laura.
Drop the mic right there.
Pass it on.
Pass the mic, right?
Well, you know, what I think is, you know, as far as like what the next steps are, I really think that this election is going to be what it's going to be, right? It's going to be what it's going to be. I told you when you contacted me and said, hey, support Biden. And I said, no, I can't support Biden because my position is just hard left. And I get really upset with my people because they don't ask for enough. And then I get upset about conversations being had once the nomination is either already in the can or very close to being in the can. Then there's all these conversations about what we're going to ask for, what we want. And it's too late. It's kind of too late for all of that. So I get frustrated about those kind of things too. But okay. So now I'm kind of like, my headspace is, so now what do we want? If we're going to talk about the flip, what do we want to take place? You know, what do we want to take place? What do we want from this new administration? When, so I'm a breast cancer survivor. So I just got on social media when I started that journey to stay connected to the world. And my crazy ass was literally on social media, DMing Cardi B and A$AP Rocky and all of these people that I don't listen to and asking them to put registration booths at their concerts. Because I felt like young people would register to vote, you know, at their concerts. I had no idea that later on, you know, that Cardi B would become, you know, politically active. I just thought she was someone that people kind of gravitated towards. I take issue with the fact that because I see very clearly that Black people are not lazy, that there's nothing wrong with us, that it is very strategic, that there's a very clear reason we don't own anything. You know, we don't own any forms of communication. We don't own any forms of communication. Everybody complains about the record companies, about the music that we put out, when we don't own the companies that put the music out. We're not even in charge of that. So of course they can find young people trying to get on that put that trash out there. But even some of those young people kind of wake up. You can always be able to find young people.
Laura, don't we have to focus? We got to focus right now.
Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. So I think they're kind of, you know, waking up. But I really feel like the voices, that kind of underbelly is just not, the bullhorn is just not in their mouth. And I kind of want to turn to my left and my right and say, you know, I can't be the only parent that just doesn't want to go back to school. You know, now I get that there are parents that can't keep their kids home, but there's just got to be a different kind of way because they're not doing a good job. They're just not. They're just not. And
Well, there are a bunch of, I can tell you there are a bunch of kids that are home right now doing their own schooling.
yes.
And
there's got to be a way to connect those kids with some other kids that, and parents don't mind taking on those responsibilities for other people's kids. There's got to be.
I'm not sure that's a realistic expectation, though. Not everybody.
We used to do it. We used to do it. This whole integration thing, I don't think it's been so great for us. This whole this whole there's you got one CEO and then everybody else lost their job.
But this is the way of the times. And guess what? I think we'll survive. I think kids will be able to operate in front of the computer.
No, will we flourish? And I would really like to not survive anymore. I really like to.
We're not flourishing right now. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to be surviving right now. This is where we are. We're not going to have a perfect thing. I said before, we're 240 years old. This country is 240 years old. When you compare it to the rest of the the countries, the countries, we're the youngest country. This is an experiment. Now, if you trickle that down to what we've done with slavery, what we've done with women's rights, labor rights, rights for all people, socialism, communism, democracy, we've done a lot. We've recognized a lot. So all I'm saying to you is we're not going to get it perfect out the gate. We're just not. This is the first time.
It's really, really old. That's a long time for the gate to be swinging and it's dashing us in the face. It's not hitting them in the face. And I think we are resilient. Do something really extremely different and try something extremely different. And I don't know what it is, but I'm open to some ideas. And I just don't think their way is working for us. I think that we've gotten away from some things that are fundamentally our grandparents.
Let me stop you there, because fundamentally means going back to the Constitution and going back to the things that made us a country. So let me stop you there and let me just say, I think we are a resilient country. We were resilient enough to free slaves and free people and have all kinds of people look at us in the universe as wonderful people. We are one of the greatest countries in the world, or we were. And so what I'm saying to you is we can get back to that. We are still the great experiment, and we can still turn and churn and pivot and make it so that we are right. We don't have to give up. Donald Trump is not the fucking end. He ain't gonna be. Dictators are not ever going to be the end of a country.
We got to start somewhere. We just got to figure out where do we start?
Where do we start? We start right now. We just start right now. We start with Black people voting. We start with brown people voting, yellow people voting, white people voting, and that's it. That's it. The people.
I think we're talking about something two completely different things. I think some people are talking about going back to the way it was before Trump was in office. And I think others are talking about going to something that was way better for Black people before Trump was in office. So that's what I'm talking about.
I don't know either. All I know is
that wasn't good for us. When I look at Black wealth before Trump was in office, I don't see that we were doing much better than it was before, like even during the Harlem Renaissance. We can't do that. We are paving the way to our own destiny. Think about that. We can't throw back and say it should be this way or that way. No, I'm talking numbers. I'm talking wealth. I'm talking our overall. I
totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm. So April, you're a little bit muddy. April, get a little closer to your mic.
You got to build your own laws.
April, get a little closer to your mic.
The country is built on laws. And so how do you do that? You got to vote. You can't make the laws that make people rich without voting for the fucking laws.
No, I agree about voting. I'm talking about things that are past that. We both agree about voting. I'm not talking about just voting. I'm talking about a mentality, about the way we approach our lives, about how we
Both
approach.
of them are same, one and the same.
April, move over this way a little bit.
Change the thought,
Can't
April,
hear
slide
you.
over.
change the action.
April,
Slide over,
Go
April.
ahead. This
Slide
way.
over.
Sorry,
We can hear
Laura,
you.
sorry.
No, this way. You good?
Sorry.
Go,
We're saying we can't hear you. We're saying we
No,
can't
we
hear
can't
you.
hear you. We can't hear you.
I'm very passionate.
No, we want you to talk.
No,
No,
we
we
don't.
want to hear you. Slide back over so we can hear you. We can't hear you where you are.
When you go over that way, we can't hear you.
Oh,
back.
sorry.
A little
How's
bit.
this?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, stay right
That face, though.
Yes.
So I'm just arguing that action leads to change, and change leads to what we need to do in terms of today. We can't talk about the old days. Those are over. We have to actionate today. Is that
This
What
is
I'm
a total
talking
different.
about is action.
This generation is
The
different.
action, the change leading to ownership. I guess that's what I'm talking about. The action will change leading to ownership.
you're not wrong. You are
Oh, okay.
absolutely
Right.
not wrong. But first, we
Right,
have to
it's not.
educate these folks. We have to educate all of us in what's at stake. Allison just talked about the direct correlation between the society and the way cops treat Black people and voting. She just talked about that. You don't vote if a system doesn't give a shit about you. And
Yeah,
so
but
when
I'm saying that the part of
you
the
gotta believe
system
in it.
is their educational system, which we both agree does not educate our children. And I was
Absolutely.
I don't know what the way is and how we educate our children, but I
No,
know they're not
all
doing
that.
a good job.
Let's just change all of it. Let's just vote everybody who is in the education system out. Let's vote on it. That's it. That is the simple premise. If you do not like the education system, vote for the person who supports your education system. That's it.
This is
That
where
is
you
it.
have your district representatives. Your district representatives for each part that represent, like Berkeley County School District. You got certain representatives for each district within the county. So if that's who you need to take your concerns to, because they're supposed to represent your area and your district, and they're supposed to be the ones to take it to the school district when they have those meetings and things like that to voice the concern and get it, taken care of. But they don't do it. They get in the office and they get relaxed,
Unless you vote.
and they don't do it. But you have to stay on them to vote. Right, you got to stay on
Unless
them
you vote.
for them to do it, and they don't do it.
That's it.
Michelle,
Unless
you
you
real quiet
have
over there in
to
that corner. You're not saying anything. I
Right.
see your mind going. I see it going.
Yeah, I mean, because
Hey,
there is
Michelle, blow it up or fix it. Blow it up or fix it.
Blow it up and fix it. And I apologize. I don't mean to be so.
That sounds like most corner right there.
everything.
Blow it up a fix.
What's good? I see it,
It
Michelle.
comes
What's
down to the vote. It comes down to the vote. It comes down to the motherfucking vote. It comes
Oh,
down
you
to
ain't say the MF word. April.
No, I didn't.
April.
No,
April.
I didn't.
DMF.
So like I said, Michelle, what's going through your mind? What do you think of Michelle?
Well, they're both on point. Laura has some points as well. And I just feel like, like I said, I'm on the all about showing some love thing. I really don't like to get intermingled into politics because I call that a pile of ticks. It's just, I've seen it firsthand what happens. I know we're around representatives and senators all the time to see what happens, the nastiness with
So how do you resolve that, though? You can't just step out of it and say, I'm not going to get into this. How do you resolve that?
Well, and that's why I said you both are right, because it does start with the voting. We do have to vote, but we also have to take care of each other. We have to understand what it is that we want as a unit, not as one person. We have to finally have some togetherness as a people. And we can be wanting one thing, just like how you said that you don't understand why this little group of people are still Trump, because this little group of people get over here and discuss together their beliefs and their understandings. If people are for Biden, a lot of them are by the wayside, just saying, well, I just don't want Trump, but they're not formulating any idealism to say, well, what is it that Biden can give us? What is it that we want? No one is discussing what they want from a president. They just know that they don't want Trump as a president. No one is putting together what it is that I'm not even going to say the Black people, that the people really need. I know when I was watching the debate last night, I said, all I know is that what we have right now ain't it. But we need something. But what is that something? Now, what I said was that I don't get entangled in the politics, but what I do is I am constantly involved in the communities. And I do help drive the communities to register to vote, to help them to help with certain projects that will eliminate the distractions, which would help them to see anything that's beneficial for them, period. I mean, we have so many distractions within our people that we have to talk about a healing within ourselves as opposed, because people don't have it mentally to even try to help themselves.
So let me ask you this, because I said a comment before that it doesn't even matter now. And so after you watched the debate yesterday, what do you think?
After I watched the debate yesterday, I sat and said, good God, this is insane. Because if you can be, and this is the thing where everybody is so shocked about what Trump said. It's not like you didn't know already. You already knew who he was. Who was that? Who are you gonna believe, me or your lying ass eyes? Who said that? Because that's what it is. Like, what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for that slap in the face? Are we waiting for the ships to start to sell? Are we waiting for everything to shut down? For the shackles? What are we waiting for?
How did you feel? Did you feel like you had to pivot? Or did you feel like...
Uh-oh.
I love you.
The atmosphere over there, right?
That's some realness right there.
Okay.
That's realness right there.
Right.
That's right. What I'm saying is that we have to have a will. We have to have a will. And when I say that I don't get too entangled in politics, it's because there are people in the will for the politics. I'm trying to be a part of the will. It's a will that needs to be turned. And everybody can't be in this section. You understand what I'm saying? And so I can try and help people get in that section. I can do that part, but there's a will that needs to turn. It just can't be a part of a will. So I'm just trying to be an extra part of the will to help the will turn. So with the politics, that's not my arena. I'm all for voting. I'm trying to make people gather that, that oomph to make them realize what is most important. But there are people in play, just like you said, you have to vote them in. And we just have to keep the wheel turning. We have to get the wheel first.
This is where the unity comes in. This is where the village comes in. So Michelle is handling this part. Okay, April is out there getting it in the streets with this. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then everything start gelling together. You see what I'm saying? My thing
the wheel
is,
can't turn without the oil.
Huh?
The wheel can't turn without the oil.
Okay. All right. So again, it's like everybody has a part to do. It's
there
just,
you go.
Where do we go to start getting it all, get the ball rolling? How do we get everything going so we can start getting this train going down the track? You understand what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. We got to start somewhere. So if Michelle is good at this is her area of expertise, this is what she does. And then this is what April does. And then this is what Laura does. And this is what Allison does. You see what I'm saying? So then my thing is, we all know that it's going to take everybody to get the job done. When are we going to start? Where do we start? How do we get the ball rolling? What are we going to do? This is where the action comes in.
I feel like the hardest part is taking over the forms of communication. television, media, be it, social media, radio, no matter what it is. Because if you're talking about social media, between Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, no matter what it is, you have people controlling that are not us, the algorithms to make you see certain things, think certain things. It is so upsetting, annoying, divisive. That's problematic. And then even if it's not upsetting, annoying, divisive, you have your children on there and they're feeding them information that you don't want them to see. And then if you're talking about your forms of actual news and communication, if you are not purposefully trying to get information from different parts of the world, like you don't know a person, a cousin that's in another country in the world, and you're like, hey girl, what's going on over there in Uganda? You won't know what's going on in Uganda. Even World News Tonight. How is it that World News Tonight is only reporting on the United States and Europe? Do they not know that they're supposed to report on the entire world? Do they not know that? I mean, it's incredible to me. So and the only time they report, on something tragic is when they're reporting, the fact that people that are not us do not own major corporations that give us information is just not good. White people would not tolerate another race of people owning all forms of communication to inform them of anything, about anything. So the fact that they are informing us about all things and educating us about all things is just in and of itself wrong. When we start talking about our health and well-being, people always are quick to bring up Tuskegee, the Tuskegee experiment. And I'm like, I think there were like 19 or 20 other things that happened besides Tuskegee experiment. So the other day they mentioned that they are giving these women in the ICE camps hysterectomies. Mm-hmm. And people, I'm in this mom group. It's like maybe 5,000 or 10,000 women. And I would, if I had to guess, I'd maybe 3% Black. And they're all clutching their pearls. And I'm like, how are you shocked? I mean, really, how are you shocked? And it's just those kinds of things that I'm trying to figure out. How do we own the information without getting it secondhand, without being on their platforms?
That's it right there. Pastor Pringle said something wise where he says, whoever owns the gold makes the rules.
Yes.
And we used to own the gold. It was stolen. So those are, just like what's happening right now with politics. He didn't get in office by fair. That was something with help, with assistance from Russia. But what I'm saying is that, and that goes with us being the main ones who are the builders, who create things, and other people benefit from it. That's what's known for our race. So why isn't that everything? Because whatever we started with is what people are millionaires from. And we're okay with just saying I created it, but this person is being rich from it. Just like even what is it, Jack Daniels or whatever that is, where that's what happens with us, period. We don't think to shift it to say, I'm going to own this. I'm just going to create it and let someone else matriculate with it or do whatever it is to make them successful and be in the limelight. And I'm laughing because that's just me right here saying, I'm the behind the scenes person to do things as opposed to letting you see everything that I am doing, because I think that solid foundation is most important than the top. The top can always get cut down, but that foundation is always going to be there. And people pay attention to mostly what the root is as opposed to what's showy. So what I mean by that is that where the foundation is where we're going to structure moving forward, which you do see a lot of a lot of the youth now do own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming out of teens.
Yes,
teens with
They
their
are.
own business. And then with YouTube sensations, and they're millionaires at a young age. So we can't say that people aren't owning businesses now. There is a change. I do agree with her. There is a shift. That looking back, we can say that what has happened. But now with the internet, there is no you can't discriminate against me, because whatever you're doing and whatever you're earning is on your own. So I see the shifting, but at the same token, still those lawmakers, still the higher up, it still has to be some, just how Biden said to Trump last night, how he has made sure to manipulate the tax codes for his benefit. They're going to continue doing that until we have our quote unquote entanglements in that, and pay attention to those laws and bills to make sure that everybody is most beneficial.
Well, the lawmakers are on this podcast because everybody on this podcast are leaders. The thing is that you got to step out your comfort zone sometime and step up, because you're a great leader. You may not. I remember I said something one time. I was preaching. I said sometimes the call on your life is greater than the man or the woman that you are, and so that's what's up. The call on your life is greater. Because you might say, man, I don't want to run for mayor. Man, I don't want to run for city council. But yeah, you need to. I had a friend of mine that worked with me on the campaign in Iowa. She's from Iowa, and she's running for the House. And so that's the same thing you guys need to do. I'm telling you, we'll support you. We'll get out there and we'll talk about you. And Laura, you've had such an impression on me, and this is gonna make you laugh. You'll probably be laughing for the rest of the week off of this. Back in the old days, I remember when I was asking you one day in high school, I said, yeah, did you see that show last night? You said, what, on the stupid box? You remember that? You called the TV a stupid box. Hey, Laura, well, she called the TV a stupid box. And I never forgot that. Even right now, as an adult, if I sit at the TV too long, I'm like, I'm at the stupid box. Okay. Yeah, because if it's not something on it that's enriching to you, if you're not learning from, because TV is a great tool now. You can get on YouTube, man, you can learn all kind of stuff. TV can be a great educational tool, but if you're just gonna sit down and watch reruns, or sit down and watch Martin and Shanae all day long, you done seen all the Martin and Shanae's, you've seen all the Martin shows, and you're wasting time. And so that's what it is. It's getting out there, and it's people like you guys who are the actual leaders that will immobilize the people, because people will gravitate to you, they'll hear your voice, and they'll march with you to war. They'll march with you guys to war. So you've been charged. I leave the charge with all of you.
It's funny that you say that, because since we've been home, I've been catching up on old movies with my teenager, and I've been pulling out some movies, and we watched the first movie we watched was Higher Learning, right? Mm-hmm. So she's like, "Did you really just have me watch a school shooter movie? Like, really?" So, and I'm thinking like it's a good movie, like we about to sit down and we about to, bond. And she's like, it's a school shooter movie. Like, what were you thinking? Like, she's crying, she's upset with me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't even remember that Tyra Banks died at the end. I didn't even remember that. Right. So then I pick Set It Off. And she's not,
Lord,
right? She's not even speaking to me anymore, right? She's not
all
even
the tragic endings,
right? So then I'm like, okay. I promise you're gonna like the next one. I promise you're gonna like the next one. And I pick what's the one with the jigaboos and the wannabes?
School Days.
Yes, I picked School Days, right? So and they arguing and stuff like that. And she's like, I really understand why you're the way you are. I'm like, why don't you like this movie? It's the bomb.
My kids would just look at me and say, "Ma, really? Ma, you old? Okay."
I bought it a Sister Soldier book. You know, what's wrong with you? Why don't you like this? You know,
But you know, school shootings are real in their day.
Huh? Tell me about it.
For us, we somebody might have a knife. You know, somebody might have a little.
More offensive.
Somebody might have a little knife. They'd be like, "Oh, he got a knife," you know. But school shootings are real for them, and so that's like for us. We were thinking about the stars because we going to Berkeley High School. You know, I ain't gonna have no gun, no Berkeley High School.
Yeah, okay. You know how many knives and guns and stuff knives and guns and weapons I've gotten off of children within the time that I've actually been to that school.
Wow.
And that's one of the misconceptions people have. Oh, that's not gonna happen here. Okay, it's getting closer than you think.
Wow.
I mean,
it's
he's
sad.
talking about when we were there, though. He's talking about when we were there, when we were actually enrolled.
But now you're talking about now. It's crazy. If you had to put a number, how many guns in have you gotten off the kids? You couldn't even number it, huh?
Because when I came home one time, I was visiting.
It's amazing. I can't. From working I worked at one school for 18 the 19 years that I worked within the school, and they come up with some innovative ways to carry things. That these kids, their mind is constantly going. The social media and the internet and everything else. This is why parents need to stay on top of all of that stuff. Watch it. Even if you may not want to hear that, no, listen to the music they're listening to. I used to ask my kids, "Who is that?" And I'll go in there and I'll put my earbuds in and I'll listen to it just to see, what they're doing.
So my children,
it's amazing.
My children were at three, because of their ages, they were at three different schools. So I had to drop them off every morning at three different schools. So I realized one morning, I think it was Juice WRLD. I think it's the artist. Mm-hmm. And it sounded like pop music. So I wasn't paying attention. And by the time they played the song 3 times by the time I dropped the last one. And I listened to the music and I'm like, this is a suicide song. So I was like, that's it. That's enough of that. And they were like, no, mommy, it's fine. And I was like, so I explained to them later on. I said, remember that guy? Isn't that guy you told me that he just sings that song, nothing's wrong with him and blah, blah, blah. You argued me down. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He just died, killed himself.
Wow.
What? I said, I told you. You should listen to me. You're going to stay alive rocking with me.
I would go into classes. I would just bust up into the classes and I would just start conversations with the entire class. And to talk to these kids and to just get them to open up. And when the kids open up to you, it'll be things that kids are not going to say to their own parents. But then once you talk to them and they open up and you hear the things, and it's like, you have so much that's going on right here within our own community, and again, this is why I say, just like how, it takes everybody getting together. It takes the community to help with them. It's just, I can't express it enough. It's just amazing. My heart, I love those kids and I love it. It's just being able to,
What do you think you're doing right now? You're talking to the community.
Yeah.
I just want you to remember that part. That little teeny tiny part.
That little teeny part. I love all of these kids.
I know.
I love all of them. And I just don't want to, I have a house full, come on, darling, come on and sit down and eat.
But you're starting here.
Whatever. It's just hard to know that you have kids out there that don't have something that and it feels some type of, I want to help.
But you're starting right now. That's what you need to remember.
Don't make me cry now. Don't have no steel magnolias moment. I got a boyfriend Matt Beth to be looking. They be like, "What you been doing?" I be like, "I got allergies." I be like, "I got allergies."
No.
This is set it off, Rodney.
Oh man. Mm.
Ladies, this, the show is usually 50 minutes. I think that we really had awesome dialogue. I think that this was like probably it's such an awesome show. I'm just so thankful to have you guys on. I'm gonna have you guys back. Absolutely. Reverend Pringle came on here and gave me the Holy Ghost. Hey, Jesus. Hey, for real. I was ready to take my text. I was getting ready to say, and turn, the old preacher, turn scripture, common mayhem, number 345, must Jesus had across the law. But I think that we had, we just had such an awesome conversation. Laura, I ain't gonna never be your friend no more, because let me tell you etiquette. I said, do you remember? You supposed to always say, yeah, I remember. See, my homeboys would do that. I said, no, I don't remember that.
Don't remember.
Nah, not at all. You might not have been me.
No.
But
No lies told. Not even a little bit.
But I love y'all so much. I thank y'all for taking time out of your busy day. I charge you to go ahead and be leaders in your community and step up and run for mayor and run for governor. Hey, I'm serious. And we'll push you. Let me tell you, we'll push you. We'll push you. Run. And you be the lawmakers. You hear me? You guys be the lawmakers. And then that's when we can go ahead and we can have a say so. And yeah, absolutely. Because I'm looking at right now, Nicole left the broadcast, but I'm looking at 4 people right now that could absolutely run for any office they wanted to run for and win. No problem. Michelle says she play politics. I understand that, Michelle. You keep doing what you're doing. But I just want you guys to know that you all motivate me all the time. I sometimes I look at Michelle. I'll look at her post and I'll be like, ready. And I have to pop another ibuprofen. I'll be ready to go though. But
Hey, Michelle, can you tell us how? I don't know. Maybe Cornell, you were going to already say this, but I mean, can you tell us how to do what you're doing? I mean,
tell us, Michelle.
Okay. Now, which one? Okay, so with National Action Network, we are always looking for members, and there's any and everything that you can do with the organization. What we do with the chapter is we try to fit you whatever is your comfort zone, whatever it is you, I guess, master. So whatever your passion is, we try to bring that forth. We have a lot of people who come to us, just like the police officers and people who are working in the communities who have been discriminated against. A lot of situations where we have cases that we handle, but we would love for people that are in the communities to be involved, because like I always say, it all boils down to the unity. And when everyone comes together as a group and have the same understanding, just like that Malcolm X, when he had a whole bunch of people standing there and they said that was too much power.
Too much power for one man to have.
My favorite part.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people don't believe in organizations, but the word right there in itself speaks volumes. You have to understand where people are. Just like we're having this conversation, you're in the organization and you kind of make a structure where it could be most beneficial for the communities, not just one person. So if you're interested in being a member, you can either contact me. My email is, I'll just give you the NANS email. It's NANSC Tri-County. So that's NANSC Tri-County @gmail.com. And you can also go find us on Facebook. Same thing, Nan Charleston Chapter SC. We're on Facebook as well. I can give you my number is 843-377-5535. And just another community plug, I'm also affiliated with Project Cool Breeze. Been the coordinator for the past 4 years with Representative Wendell Gilliard And we've had our annual distribution of air conditioning units, which lasted from the end of June through September. But now we're moving forth to the turkey drive, which is really focused on volunteers. I mean, not volunteers, but we do have a lot of volunteers, and we're always looking for more. But this is geared towards the veterans. We make sure that we take care of them. They get hot meals. We give turkeys to the communities as well. And we have Desmond Pringle was actually the guest performer last year. So that's funny that he was on here because he was the performer for last year, and he also participated with our distribution. But yeah, it's just a lot of different things that happens in the communities, and we're always looking for volunteers. Actually, I'm going to be in Moncks Corner this weekend, Saturday, with the Richardsons vendor.
Yes, my family. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I'm going to partake in that as well, and I'll have some information. You can sign up right there for either or, for Project Cougars or National Action Network as well.
Okay.
Awesome. So, ladies, I thank you all for being on the show today. You've made this show really rich. We've laughed. We've learned some things. You know, Allison was
Too long.
Too long. No. There's no too long. There's no too long. No too long. No, absolutely.
April Corner had the swear jar.
Yeah,
When I get women one line.
MF. I talked to you
I'm
about that.
gonna tell it.
You know, tell my pastor he can't see this. You know, old Sister Hattie Mae said, "Oh Jesus, boy, I was looking at the show, and it was so good, and the man singing, oh God,
Around here.
and the girl said MF, oh Jesus."
I already heard my kids. They were like, I want to go get dinner, but mommy's still on the call. I don't want to go back in there.
Hey,
Scared now.
but then you did my grandmama. You cut the camera off. I'm not.
Go feed the babies. Go feed the babies. Can I just say you guys were good for my soul?
Man, this blessed me so much. I love
it,
podcasting. I love this, and I will be getting. Believe me, I'll be getting the same crew. I'm keeping that same green room. We got that green room. We'll keep that same green room. So I'll hit y'all back up again later. And whatever you guys decide what y'all want to discuss, I'll let y'all come back and decide what y'all want to discuss. Because you know, it has been a wealth of knowledge. You guys so smart, man. Y'all so smart. But I love you. God's blessings on you. Once again, this has been the Moral Compass. I'm your guest, Cornell. I'm your host, Cornell Johnson. We're so glad that we had Allison Taylor Gadsden, April Guy Driver, Michelle Harris, and we had the lovely Laura Irvin Manigault, who didn't confirm that she remembered the story.
My bad.
But we just thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Right now.
Definitely.
You too. Cornell, Allison Comey.
Got you. Thank you so much. I had so much fun. Yes.